You had a plan. You knew exactly how it was supposed to go. By this age, you would be with this person. By this season, you would have this life. You had a picture in your mind, clear, detailed, specific, and you held on to it with everything you had. And then God interrupted it. Not gently, not with a polite explanation, just interrupted it. Moved the pieces, closed the door, redirected the path, and left you standing in the middle of a life that looks nothing like the one you designed. And the hardest part isn't even the loss. The hardest part is watching other people's plans work out while yours keeps getting rearranged by a God you're still trying to trust. Stay with me, because what I'm about to say is going to be uncomfortable before it becomes freeing, and I need you to stay for both parts. Here is the convicting part. The part most people skip over because it requires a level of honesty that is genuinely uncomfortable. Sometimes, the plan God keeps interrupting was never His plan to begin with. Sometimes what we call our vision is really just our fear with a deadline attached to it. We decide by this age we should be married, not because God told us that, but because we are afraid of being alone, and a timeline makes the fear feel more manageable. We decide this person is the one, not because God confirmed it, but because we are tired of waiting, and they are available and familiar and close enough to the picture we drew in our heads. We make plans from our wounds, from our timelines, from our comparisons, from our impatience, from the pressure of a world that tells us we are behind if we haven't hit certain milestones by certain ages. And then we bring those plans to God and ask Him to bless them. And when He doesn't, when He redirects, delays, removes, or completely dismantles what we built, we call it unanswered prayer. But what if it was the most merciful thing He ever did for you? There is a way that appears to be right, but in the end, it leads to death. Proverbs 14:12. That is not talking about obviously wrong choices. That is talking about choices that look completely reasonable, that look right from the outside, that make perfect sense on paper. But God sees the end from the beginning. And sometimes what looks like the right door from where you are standing leads somewhere He never intended you to go. The interruption was not cruelty, it was protection dressed in disappointment. Let's talk about a woman in Scripture whose plan was interrupted in one of the most devastating ways imaginable. Her name was Naomi, and if you don't know her story, here's what you need to understand. Naomi was a woman who had built a life. She had a husband, 2 sons, a home, a future. She had a picture of how things were supposed to go. And then, in what felt like a moment, she lost her husband. Then she lost both of her sons, and she was left in a foreign land with nothing but 2 daughters-in-law and the ruins of everything she had planned. She was so broken by the interruption of her life that she told people to stop calling her Naomi, which means pleasant, and to call her Mara instead, which means bitter. Because that is what she felt. Bitter, empty, unrecognizable to herself. Like the woman she had been before the interruption no longer existed. And yet, in the middle of that bitterness, in the middle of that grief, in the middle of that completely unplanned, completely unwanted season, God was weaving something together that Naomi could not see from where she was standing. One of her daughters-in-law, a young woman named Ruth, refused to leave her side. Ruth followed Naomi back to her homeland, and through a series of events that could only be described as divine orchestration, Ruth met a man named Boaz. They married, and from their lineage came a child, and from that lineage, generations later, came Jesus Christ. Naomi's interrupted plan became the thread God used to weave the most important story in human history. She called herself bitter. God was calling her chosen. But the plans of the Lord stand firm forever, the purposes of His heart through all generations. Psalm 33:11. His plans stand firm, not yours, not mine, His. And sometimes the only way His plan can move forward is if He interrupts ours. Now, here is something that is going to require you to sit with yourself honestly for a moment. Think about the plan that got interrupted, the relationship that didn't work out the way you thought it would, the person you were certain was your person, the future you had already started building in your imagination, the home, the family, the life. And ask yourself this: was that plan built on a foundation of faith or a foundation of fear? Was it, God, I trust you to bring the right person at the right time, and I'm surrendering my timeline to you? Or was it, I need this to work out because I am terrified of what my life looks like if it doesn't? Because there is a version of holding on that looks like faith from the outside, but is actually control on the inside. There is a version of praying for something that sounds spiritual, but is really just bargaining with God because the alternative is too frightening to sit with. And God, who loves you too much to let you build your life on a foundation of fear, will interrupt that plan every single time. Not to punish you, but to bring you back to the only foundation that will actually hold the weight of the life He has for you. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. Notice what that verse does not say. It does not say, for I know the plans you have made and I will support them. It says, I know the plans I have for you. His plans, already written, already purposed, already good. And sometimes the only way you find His plans is when yours fall apart completely. Here is the hopeful part, the part that makes everything before it worth it. God does not interrupt your plan to leave you planless. He interrupts your plan to redirect you toward His. And His plan for you is not a downgrade from what you imagined. It is not a consolation prize for the life you lost. It is something so specifically designed for who you are, so perfectly matched to your gifts, your calling, your capacity for love, that when you finally arrive there, you will understand why every interruption was necessary. Naomi couldn't see it from the place of her bitterness. She couldn't see that the very loss that broke her was the beginning of the most important chapter of her story. She just had to keep moving, keep trusting, keep going, even when going felt pointless. And that is all God is asking of you right now. Not to have it all figured out, not to understand why the plan was interrupted, not to pretend you are okay with the detour you didn't ask for, just to keep moving in the direction of faith, even when the destination is unclear. Because here is what I know about God. He is not a God who wastes. He does not interrupt a plan without a purpose. He does not close a door without opening something better. He does not remove something from your hands without having something greater waiting for them. The relationship that ended was not the end of your love story. It was the end of a chapter that was not meant to be your whole story. And the God who wrote the beginning of your story has already written the ending, and it is good. It is so much better than the plan you were holding on to. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Romans 8:28. All things, including the interrupted plan, including the relationship that didn't work out, including the future you had to grieve, all of it is working together for something you cannot fully see yet, but can choose to believe in right now. So let me close with this. If your life looks nothing like you planned, if the relationship you prayed for didn't survive, if you are standing in the middle of an interrupted season, wondering where God is and what comes next, I want you to hear this. God did not interrupt your plan because He forgot about you. He interrupted it because He sees farther than you do. He interrupted it because he loves you too much to let you settle for a version of your life that was built on fear instead of faith. He interrupted it because what he has planned for you requires a version of you that the old plan could never have produced. You are not behind. You are being redirected. You are not lost. You are being led. You are not alone in the detour. The same God who interrupted the plan is walking every single step of the new one with you. Stop mourning the plan. Start trusting the planner. Drop in the comments, God's plan is better than mine, if this message landed somewhere real in you today. And if someone you know is grieving an interrupted plan right now, share this with them. Sometimes all a person needs to hear is that the detour was never a mistake. God bless you. Just believe.